barrel going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucers.
Nickel 6-1 Tango, small J, oh, got it!
With all due respect to the Air Force, I believe that some of them will prove to be of interplanetary origin.
Dude, this is a fucking drone, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is the LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing! It's rotating.
We have received and analyzed between 1 and 2,000 reports.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Swamp Gas Podcast. We're looking at everything that is strange and does not pass the sniff test. What's up, Bruce?
What's going on, man? How you doing this week?
Living it up, man. Keeping it real. It's warming up out here finally.
I meant to ask you, how's the sap cooking?
You know what? I planned to have my cook today, and it ended up raining. And it's kind of hard.
Really?
It's kind of hard to boil off, 50 gallons of water while it's raining. So
I would imagine so.
So hopefully tomorrow.
How much? If you had to guesstimate, how much maple syrup do you think you're actually going to end up getting?
Oh, probably a couple gallons.
That's great.
I've only got
great.
5 trees tapped. It's gonna.
Yeah.
But that's far more than I've ever gotten before out of 5 trees.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Say last year I filled up that 55-gallon drum one time, and I've already filled it up twice, and we're not even done yet. So it's gonna be big.
Man, I'm looking forward to some maple syrup. Well, as I'm sure most of you have noticed, if you're watching us live, if you're just listening to us, you have no idea what I'm about to say. But we do have with us a very special guest all the way from across this beautiful nation. Please welcome Josh.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Josh?
Welcome, buddy.
Not much.
Tell
man.
us a little bit about yourself, man.
36, got 3 kids under the age of 10. Been married for 8 years, so just kind of living it out down here.
So what is your birthday and social security number?
You can have my debt. If you want my debt, you can have it.
Isn't it funny how once you have, you're married and you have kids, it's people ask you what's going on in your life and you're just like, kids, married, I work. Sometimes I sleep. I don't know. I think there's food in there somewhere. I don't know. But right on, man. So today, folks, we are going to be talking about some very interesting topics. But as an icebreaker, why don't we, as a way to get to know our good friend here and a way for you to get to know him and us just a little bit better, I'm going to ask my fellow co-hosts just some off-the-wall questions, and then we're going to dive right into our episode. So bear with us, okay? All right, guys. Out of any genre of music you can think of, Don, I'm going to start with you, and then Josh, I'm going to have you go. Hey, you know what? Josh, you start. You're the guest. We'll have the guest go first, and then Don, I'll have you go next, okay?
Hit me, buddy.
Give me your top, your dream lineup. You can get 3 bands. Who's your opener? Who's your middle? And who's your closer? And here's the kicker. You couldn't see them anymore nowadays.
Oh,
they're out of groups that no longer play.
Man.
My opener would have to be Leonard Skinner.
Okay. All right.
My mid would have to be Linkin Park, and then my finisher would have to be Led Zeppelin.
Okay. That's a heavy concert. Okay.
You totally just jacked 2 of mine.
Were they in the same order, though?
Not quite. I was going to start off with Zeppelin. And then,
that's your opener. Oh, that's a solid opener.
That's a solid opener.
Zeppelin and Skinner, though, for sure. Man, I'd be hard-pressed to even come up with a third. I'm not much of a music guy, man.
I'd throw Hendrix in there.
Oh, there you go.
Now you're stealing mine.
Yeah.
Mine. I got you though. I got you. So yeah, for mine, I would definitely I'd have Bob Marley opening. I would have Hendrix middling, and I'm trying to think of a great closer. Man,
Buddy Holly.
You know what? I'm gonna go with Motorhead. I'd go with Motorhead, and I have seen Motorhead. I have seen Motorhead before Lemmy died. I think it was like the year he died or year before he died, something like that. But I did see him. If we ever have another gentleman on a podcast, we'll have him. He was at that concert with me. He can share some stories. But let's put it this way: we were in our 30s and we were over there moshing and we're having a great time. We're throwing each other around, and it was this huge metal festival, and this band, As I Lay Dying, they do this thing called the Wall of Death. Well, if you don't know what the Wall of Death is, a group of people line up on one side, a group of people line up on the other side, they yell go, and you just run into each other in chaos. Nice. So we're there, we're doing this, man, we're doing this, we're getting all ready. They're about to call it. We both look at each other like, man, I don't know about this, man. I'm in my 30s. Like, it takes a lot longer to heal than it did when I was in my 20s. So we just kind of stepped back and let the kids just
watch them
bash their faces into each other and get all the brain damage they wanted.
That's awesome.
But today, folks, I don't want to bore you any longer. Today we are going to be diving into a few stories that involve time travel or time jumping, time warps,
time slips,
whatever you want to call them. Time slips. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Dibs on band name. The Time Slips. I like it. So, I have a couple stories that I'd like to share with you folks, and I'm going to get my my co-hosts' reactions to them. So, all right, guys, you ready?
Hit me.
Yep.
All right.
Let's go.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to be starting off this story in Australia, okay? The year is 1997. The woman's name is Lynn. Okay, now Lynn, she lives in a very small outback town. Like I said, 97. This isn't the middle of nowhere, but it's not metropolitan, okay? You think small town, we've all driven through them.
It is the outback for a reason.
Excuse me. Sorry, I'm drinking coffee, guys. Sorry. So she was driving towards the town when suddenly she felt a shift in the atmosphere. And when I say a shift, it wasn't as if the weather all of a sudden got cooler or warmer, but the air got really thick and dense around her, almost as if she couldn't breathe. When she slowed down at the intersection, she looked up and she saw that the road that she was traveling on was no longer there. The town that she was driving up towards had changed. It was now very 1950s looking. The road was dirt. It was no longer cut concrete anymore. It was completely gone. There was this old black car from the other side of the intersection that approached her way, and which this car appeared to be a Vanguard, which is an Australian car that was made only in the 1950s. The man who was driving that car would stare back at her in shock and horror before he sped off. The man was dressed in attire from the 1950s. The whole encounter lasted only 20 seconds, but here's the interesting point. Lasted only 20 seconds every time she tried it. So she tried this experiment 5 more times in the exact same spot during her tenure, her life where she lived in this small town. And every time she would pull up to that intersection, it would happen in the exact same way every single time. The man in the black car would be driving towards her, and she would eventually start to try to copy down his license plate number and get some kind of idea as to who this person was.
Smart.
She was never able to make out. Dust was always kicked up. She was never able to make it out. So what do you guys think she saw? What do you guys think happened in that story?
You know, I've heard similar stories, that almost identical, actually. But I've only ever heard of this in one other place, and that's on one street in Liverpool, England, where, yeah, and not from one person, but I want to say dozens of people over, the course of, I don't even know how long, but years and years, where they're just walking down the street and then all of a sudden, boom, it's 50 years earlier or something like that. There's lots of different reports from this one street in Liverpool. It's really weird.
So what do you think that is? If you had to guess, what do you think that is? Do you think that we're just shifting into another reality?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think when I first heard about it, they were trying to investigate why things came up with something like there's a subway that goes right underneath that area, I think. And they were talking about the, subways work electrically. So something about EMF fields coming from the subway itself. They went down into the tunnels down there and they picked up a whole lot of infrasound. We talked a little bit about infrasound last week. Infrasound can have crazy effects on the human body. It can even kill you if it's loud enough.
Interesting.
It can literally stop your heart. I'd imagine that comes into play somehow, but I couldn't tell you how.
Right.
I mean, obviously nobody can.
What do you think?
How, but
yeah, right,
I mean,
right.
There's always the theory that it was somebody who was time traveling, and that one particular spot's where they landed, and that gateway is still somewhat open. So she slips in and out of that time because that's where that time rift happened.
So in your theory, when someone... Go ahead.
I was going to ask, does this happen to this woman? You said she did it multiple times in the exact same spot?
Correct.
Okay.
It would only happen in the exact same spot as she would approach that same city.
So as if you're literally walking
like that
through
one
a doorway.
street in Liverpool. Yeah, like that one street in Liverpool or that one spot in Australia. Those could have been where somebody did attempt to or completed a time travel jump. And that gateway is still somewhat open.
As if there's a doorway right there.
Yeah, like
That's a really interesting theory. That's really interesting. I actually had never considered the idea that if somebody time jumped, that area that they landed in would almost have a birth of time jump activity, like a birth canal of time jump activity. That's interesting. I never thought about that before.
Well, it is interesting.
That's a really good point. So, all right, I'm going to read the next story, which is going to lead to a couple of questions. So bear with me while I scan through these notes real quick. All right. Are we ready for number 2?
Hit me.
All right. In the summer of 1994, Susan Gilmore, her husband, and 12-year-old son were transporting some wheat while outside of Molong, a small town in the central region of Wales. Okay? They came upon an old farmhouse that was for sale. Big, beautiful sign in the front, big fence, long driveway. Gorgeous old farmhouse. So they pulled up to the house, they hopped the fence, and they walked up the long driveway. They peered through the windows, and they could see that no one had lived in it for some time, but that everything still appeared to be very much in order. Still would be a good investment to buy, they thought. So when they got home that night, they were discussing things over dinner. They decided to call up the real estate company who had the property listed. And imagine their surprise when they were informed that the real estate company not only had no knowledge of this home being listed, but had denied that there had been any property listed on that road for decades. Very puzzled, the family decided to drive back up and get another look at the house. Maybe they copied the number down wrong. Maybe the agent was wrong. Okay? So they drove up and down the same street for hours. They were unable to find that house again. They found the exact area that the house was in, that they found, the same place that they found it between these two houses that they recognized. And the only thing that they saw on that property that had any resemblance to what they had seen the day before was an old water heater that was there. There was no driveway. There was no fence. And where the house was, there was 2 very large oak trees that had been grown there. What do you guys think they saw? What do you guys think happened there? Think they drove
That is
through one of those
interesting.
time warp things?
I mean, again, it's a similar situation to the Liverpool in Australia type
Yeah,
of
based off of your
coincidence.
explanation, absolutely.
Whereas it was that, split in time where, and again, it could have just been a natural occurrence. Again, sun flares and all that shit. Who
Swamp
knows what
gas.
all
Yeah.
that stuff does to, exactly. Who knows what all that does to everything else around with the magnetic fields and everything. So it could have been just a one-off slip in time where they had the vision where they saw what they saw and then it was just gone.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely interesting. They, you said this was in Wales, right?
Correct. Yep. It was in so I was listening to the story and I was trying to copy it correctly when I was like taking my own notes, and it looked like it was saying it was the town of Molong, was the way it was pronounced, and it seemed to be in the central region of Wales.
Okay. They, anytime anybody says anything about Wales, the first thing that comes to mind is the Druids, right? That's like home territory of the Druids, who were around for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, doing their own, magical practices of the time before the Romans came along, right, and put a stop to all that.
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not terribly familiar with the Druid story.
Yeah, old school pagans. I mean, I'm certainly no expert on Druids, but yeah, they had all sorts, like, you think about like Stonehenge and all that stuff. This is all Druid works, allegedly, right?
A lot of rituals, a lot of uh, smoke and mirrors and magic practices and drink this root and everything else.
They were, they were essentially the priests of, England before the Romans came
Okay.
along.
Okay. Interesting.
So anything going on in Wales, something mystical like that, my head always jumps to the Druids. At least maybe they had opened some kind of doorway that got left open.
Well,
That's
there's
still
something to be said
around
about
now.
that.
Now,
Still
some
trying to figure
two
out what
thousand years
Stonehenge was
later.
used for.
What was that?
Mm-hmm.
They're still trying to figure out what Stonehenge was used for.
Yeah, they really
I
don't
mean, the
have
way
much
it's
idea.
built, it could have been doorways into time.
Yeah, there's lots of theories on it was just used for, you know, tracking the sky and, the seasons and all this stuff, but anybody's guess, really. So who knows?
Man, oh man. So let me ask you guys a question. Have you ever in your personal life experienced anything similar to what we've discussed?
I wish, man. That make one cool story, but I can't say that I have.
I
What
mean,
about
there's
you,
always
Josh?
those instances of deja vu where
Oh,
you feel like
sure,
you've
sure.
experienced something before,
Sure.
whether it was you dreamt about it or like you're like this happened to me before. I'm the same thing has happened to me before, the exact
Yeah.
same way. So I mean, there's always those instances where whether it's the mind going, I need a dopamine fix or something, and like this is what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
it could be one of those situations.
Yeah, and I don't even know of any conventional explanations for deja vu. What anybody's really come up with to explain that away.
The Matrix.
Yeah, right. I said conventional explanations.
No, that's a good
I mean,
one.
I'm sure somebody's out
So
there's got one, but I don't even know what it is.
let us know in the
Yeah.
comments. But okay, so I do have a story that I would like to share that kind of is similar. And after I share this one, Josh, I want to ask you a question. Okay, so
All right.
while I'm telling my story, I want you to think, and Don, you too, okay? Because this is something I want to know. I'm going to ask you guys if you. I already asked you if you've had any like weird time jumping type, experiences. Have you had any experiences that you could chalk up to like hauntings? Okay, now let that rattle around in your old noodle, and I'm going to tell you this story that has a little bit of hauntings and a little bit of time jump and a lot of unanswered questions. Okay, I'm going to take you guys back to the year, 2001 or 2000, 2001 maybe. I was 16 years old. We're driving around. Me and all my friends were driving around. I'm pretty sure one of us has a license. I don't know. I might have been driving. I really don't remember that part. But we're all driving around, and every small town has their legends. You don't go into this building. You don't go down that trail. You don't, whatever it might be. Ours was this place that was called the Haunted Hose Factory, and I don't know why it was called that, but that's what it was called. Turns out it was an old Johnson Control building that had burnt down, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, you don't go there. It's unsafe. You climb up these stairs. It's all flooded underneath. It's a mess. But you go there and you see that everyone has made a mess of this place. There's like altars. There's demonic symbols everywhere. You walk in, it's just acres of just desolation and filth. And then there's these dugout basements because it was a big building that burned down. So there's still these basements that are just in the ground that you walk and then you could fall 10 feet or whatever, 8 feet, whatever. Yeah. So, us being dudes, let's hop down there, man. Let's see what we got. So we're hopping down in these things, helping each other back up, blah, blah, blah. We're exploring. So we come across one that's got this giant tunnel, like sewer drain. Big enough for a human, easy to walk down. It was like half the size of the wall. You couldn't miss it. You go down there. I'm not going in there. You go in there. Blah blah blah. You're chicken. I'm not. We're all talking, mad nonsense to each other. But none of us really wanted to go in there. I'm not going to lie to you. But one guy volunteers. Okay, one guy, I'll go. Grabs a flashlight and he starts walking down there. And he walks down there so deep until we don't see his light anymore. Flashlight disappears. It's ironic I'm telling this story. Last Sunday, I actually went to the funeral of one of the guys that was with me that night. So that's 20-something years later. Yeah. Long story, but full circle. But anyways, so he's down there, light disappears, and we're talking amongst ourselves. We're not really paying any mind. He comes. Now, remember, we're 16. And when you're 16 and you're dudes and you're hanging out with a bunch of dudes, you're not crying over nothing. I don't care if you get. I don't care if your friend knocks a tree branch out of a tree and it hits you in the face, Josh. You don't cry about it. You know what I'm saying?
I told you it was a bad idea.
It was a terrible idea. We'll say that story another time.
It was.
I still wear the scars from that one. No, that was a terrible. But that's my point. When you're that age, you don't. You all know. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. So the fact that he came running back through the tunnel, screaming, white as a ghost, tears streaming from his face. Like, dude, what? He's like, go. So we all hop out of there. We shimmy out of there, we're helping each other up, blah, blah, blah. We climb out. We get into the van. We're going, dude, what? Wait, what was down there? He's like, guys, it got so hot. I thought I was being burned. And all I heard was screaming. He's like the most death-curdling screaming it must have been scary enough that, and it wasn't, he said it wasn't like one person screaming at him. You know what I'm saying? It was, he didn't see any flames. He just, it felt like a furnace had turned on in there. And he just heard, I don't know how he explained it, but just maybe 2 or 3 dozen voices just screaming. And so he turned around and started running. Now, this is where the story gets interesting, okay? So time goes on. I've told this story to a couple people. The people that were there told the story to a couple people. It gets around to a different group of friends. Now, this time, I'm probably 18, 19 years old. And one of my friends says, let's go back. I want to see. I said, dude, you really want to see? He said, I want to see. I said, all right, let's go. So we go down there. It's with Phil. You know Phil. So we go down there. And we're looking around, and it's the same. Nothing's changed. It's the same.
That place never
desolate
changed.
Wasteland. You know what I mean? It's the same piece of crap. Same, pentagrams everywhere. Same burnt down altars everywhere. Same everything. Like I'd been there yesterday. So we start hopping down into every single basement, helping each other up, hopping down in every single one. And I'll be damned if I tell you there was not one tunnel. Didn't exist. It wasn't there anymore.
Wow.
And I mean, I saw it with my own eyes. My friend walked down it, came back screaming. We left. Now the ration, I always want to be like ghosts, you know what I mean? But it very well could be that the city came and filled in that particular hole that had the sewer drain in it. But then you have to think, that's a big sewer drain.
Yeah.
Either has to be super inactive or you just made yourself a huge issue. You know what I mean? Like a huge, I don't know. It just seemed, I don't know. That wasn't a good enough explanation for me.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. I definitely, I know this place that you're talking about, but I've never actually been there.
Yeah, it's near where you used to live.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you're talking about, but I've never actually been, I've never gone over there and hopped in the holes and all the. I've driven past the place. That's about it.
Sure. Yeah, it's pretty creepy.
All
right, guys. So what about you?
We used to go where I used to live. There was an abandoned insane asylum.
Nice.
That we used to go to. We got into the powerhouse because they had their own powerhouse. And in one of the desk drawers was a ring of keys. And it was opened every door that was in that place.
Good find.
We walked through there. There was underground fucking tunnels, like connecting all the buildings. The rumor was that they used to chain patients down there under the ground in the tunnels.
This is in the same general area that we're talking about with his place, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know what place you're talking about too. Then.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. But we would walk through there. There were patient files. There were beds. There were, and it was just one day they just packed everybody up, kicked everybody out, and closed the doors. Nobody knows why. They lost state funding. Who knows what it was? But it was cheaper to pay 2 security guards to ride around in their car all day than tear it down. So we used to go there and break into stuff and just look through everything. And it was so creepy. It was just like everybody just up and left. There were
now
pictures,
while you were there though, did
awards.
Did you have any like
again
extra
the tunnels were spooky as hell. Like It was pitch black, so you had to obviously bring a flashlight, and it was a maze. Like you could get lost so easy down there if you didn't know where you were going.
Sure.
So I could see how people could get down there and get frightened or confused and think something moved or saw something that they thought they saw. And I'm sure over the years people have gone down there and scratched like claw marks into the walls and stuff like that to mess with people.
See, that's why I wanted to have you on, because I've known you for many, many years, and you've always been very skeptical. Like if you don't see it yourself. So that's why I wonder if you're all the way down and you're walking through those things and it was just creepy. You didn't have any experiences. You didn't see anything move. You didn't hear anything that wasn't there.
No, it was just eerie the way and I could see how everybody could get spooked and think that it could be haunted, because it was terrifying how it just looked like everybody just up and vanished one day.
Wow.
I've definitely heard lots of good. It's one of those places where, just like the place you're talking about, Bruce, teenagers like to go to and fuck around. There's always tons of creepy stories coming out of that place.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Someone got a little too drunk, or someone got a little too high, and they thought they saw something move.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We did.
We
did a gimmicky down here. We did a gimmicky ghost tour for like one of the touristy trap places we went to go visit one time, and we went to Ripley's, and they said that this one Ripley's was like the most haunted Ripley's because it used to be this hotel, and there was like 3 or 4 murders at this hotel. And
is it the upside down one?
No, that's Wonderworks.
Okay. Oh, I thought that was Ripley's.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, that's one. So they had us do like the EMF scanners and everything like that, and taking pictures and seeing if stuff moved. And there were a few people there that got those blurry images in their pictures, or had a few hits on like the EMF scanners and stuff like that. And it was kind of creepy. Like my wife, actually ended up getting a picture of this chair, and in the picture there were shoes on the chair, and if you looked at the chair, there were no shoes on the chair.
That's interesting.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So
again, skeptical as I can be, shit happens. I've
For
seen
sure.
shit happen.
Sure.
You know, I took a couple years back. I took one of those insane asylum tours. There's a famous one that's local that gives like haunted tours and whatnot, and I did that. And let me tell you something, buddy. Like, they gave you the whole radio. You download this app and it's an EMF, blah blah. I'm skeptical. So like I didn't see anything. I didn't feel anything. Yeah, it's dark and creepy, sure. You know what I mean? Like, because they let you run around the whole place for like 6 hours.
Right. One of the stops we had before Ripley's was some, again, touristy trap type thing, and they had us run around with the EMF scanners, and I'm sure they put magnets in the buildings so that they could go off when you got close to a wall.
Yeah, stuff like that. And like the app, you know what I mean? Like, it's an app, anyone could download and change voices to like creepy stuff. And of course they have this story of like this one lost little girl, and you know, if you call out her name on this thing, then it says something every time you call it out. Like, dude, anyone could do that. That's like app stuff.
Bloody Mary, you know, Bloody Mary.
That's what I'm saying. It's kind of silly. So like I found myself after like the 5th hour of not seeing anything, like I'm just going to scare people. Like I'm just going to hide in these rooms, and like when people come around the corner, I'm going to move stuff. And I was just having fun doing that for the rest of the time because there was nothing
just
there.
Walking by and slightly moving something on the table.
No, for sure. They're like, listen, we're going to leave, and if you want to sit here, 4 people died in this bathtub in the past 20 years. So like, okay, well, I'll sit in the bathtub. So I sat in the bathtub and like, okay, well, it's just dark and cold. But it's also 2 in the morning and the winter. So like, you know, like I not seeing anything, you know, like Gertrude, I don't know what to tell you. Nothing's happening. But it was kind of silly to me. But
interesting. That's crazy.
Yeah, but I will tell you this. No. So let me finish that story, because I hate to say that without giving you the full story, because to say like nothing happened after that would be a lie. Because after I left that night, I get stuck. My car gets totaled on the way out. I get stuck in the rain. My car flooded. As I'm pushing my car out with another guy who's helping me push it out, and I'm telling you, this is the craziest thing. Pushing it out, and this is, like I said, 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and it's just raining outside. It's a pretty bad storm, but like it's pretty quiet. So we're going underneath this overpass. I'm pushing it up, and I hear a pop and a scream. And I look across the street, and there was this big accident that happened. So me and the dude ran over to this accident. This dude had gone through the windshield, flipped over, and was like bleeding out. You know what I mean? Like there was this pool that was forming around him, and everyone is really drunk. And so I'm like, that security guard in me kicks in, and I'm like, "You call 911. You don't touch him. You blah blah blah." And the people who hit them were trying to leave. I'm like, "You stay here." Blah blah blah. But I ended up losing control of the situation, and but the ambulance and the cops did come. But it was a wild night, man. Let me tell you, it was a wild night.
Damn. That's rough.
Yeah. What about you, Don? Come on, you lived out in the middle of nowhere for the longest time. You never seen any Revolutionary War guys dueling in your backyard, or Victorian dress wearers dancing in your windows?
Any Wendigos or Skinwalkers?
I don't know of too many Civil War battles happening in Michigan, but you know. Literally, probably the only paranormal experience that I've ever had is pretty lackluster. It's nothing to write home about. You remember my old house, right?
Yeah, of course.
So when I first bought that house, we didn't move into it for probably about 2 months, because the place, we got it in foreclosure. Half the carpets were torn up, right? All of the baseboards were missing. Like, so
wow.
I ended up, they actually know the guy that stole all the baseboards, by the way. But
At least there was copper still in the house.
Yeah. Luckily, it was still all galvanized pipes at that time, so there's no missing copper. It was just old enough. But yeah, this house, actually, they don't even know when this house was built, because at some point, the township building or the county building had burned down. So it was listed that the house was built in 1901, which we just found out was a catch-all for anything they don't know. They just list as 1901. So we really have no idea when that place was built.
Wow.
But you've been there. It's an old place. Anyway, we didn't move in for like 2 months because let's fix this place up a little bit before we move all our shit in here. And I was up in the third floor. Yeah, you heard me. The third floor, which is kind of like an attic space, but like a finished attic space. It's almost like a dormer. I don't know. I'm up there. Actually, no, I don't. I was down on the first floor, tearing up what was left of the carpets, and then we hadn't had the garbage service kicked in yet. So I was taking those chunks of carpet up to that attic space just to leave them up there until we got that sorted out. So I lugging these rolls of carpet up the stairs, up one set, up the other set, boom. And I look around, everything, no empty room, but there's like there's all these doors in there. There's 3 different access doors to get into the eaves, so that's like extra storage space, plus 2 closets, one on each end. So 5 other doors on top of the one that I'm walking through. And as I bring the stuff in the first time, all these doors are closed. And I come up the second time, and every single one of these doors is open.
Ooh.
And that's it. That's the end of my paranormal experience. Nothing to write home about.
Did you talk to the ghost? Did you just close the doors?
I got the fuck out of there. I said, nope, I'm done for the day. But, at the time I was deep into, watching ghost hunters on TV and the Sci-Fi Channel. I'm like, all right, I know it. I'm going to walk in there and talk to the ghost in a stern voice. This is my house now, not yours. And sure as shit, I never had anything happen again.
Wow.
I don't know. That's all I got, man. That's the coolest
I like it. I like
experience that I got.
I like it. That's a good one.
We're just toddlers throwing tantrums.
When I just moved up to this place just over a year ago now, and I stayed here on my own for probably 2 weeks before everybody else got up here. And I was waiting. I'm like, all right, new house. This is an even older house. It's a stone house. Like, it's been here since I'm not really sure when the house was built, but I know that this land itself was settled in like the 1870s, right? I'm not sure that that's when this house was built, but could be.
Could be.
And I was waiting. I'm like, all right, let's see what happens. This is a new house, new place, old history, a lot of history here. When we first got there, the old owner actually left us some printouts, newspaper clippings of the old owners and like their obituaries and, just different, history of the property type thing. And I was waiting, and it was the quietest I've ever been in any house. Not a creak, not a moan, you can't even hear the wind in a thunderstorm. Because the walls are like 2 feet thick of solid stone. I call it the castle. You can't hear a thunderstorm outside. And there was not
That's neat. You got that history, though.
It was the quietest night I've ever had in my life.
No, and Josh, you're right. That is a lot of history. I've been here a little
over a year, and I got nothing. I've got nothing here anywhere on this property that's weird other than, wildlife.
Yeah. Porcupines everywhere.
Fucking porcupines, man. My pit bull loves the porcupines.
Oh, that sucks.
Oh, horrible.
Oh, that sucks.
Still haven't even seen a bear yet.
Eating the bush outside.
Yeah. Give it time; it'll happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, have you got any other interesting time travel stories? Some of the ones I kind of wanted to touch on to circle back to the original discussion was, there's a lot of unexplainable ones that that have become accepted pop culture wise, but there's really no explanation for them. For instance, there's the one in. Please help me, guys. When was Charlie Chaplin popular? Like the
20s?
1920s,
30s, the 30s
like
and 40s. Yeah.
But anyways, I forget which movie he was making, but there's like a woman, an extra that walks by with her hand up to her head, talking.
Yeah, I've actually
it's
got
hard
that clip
to
right here.
Oh, do you? Oh, let's show it.
I figured we would talk about that. Yeah, it was the movie I think was called Belfast.
Okay.
And it was in 1922 or something like that. Early 20s. Old black and white silent film. Let's see if I can't pull that up here. Here we go. It's going to actually repeat this over and over. We see the old lady right here holding something up to her ear.
And it looks like she's having a conversation.
Yeah, she stops, turns, she's talking.
She's talking, her mouth is moving. Now, like, anyone could be like, well, she was just pretending to be on a phone. Phones weren't like that back then.
Yeah, how would she know to pretend to be that?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had one thing, you had a microphone you'd hold up and like a cup you'd put over your ear.
Right.
Yeah, I want to say that the, conventional explanation here is that she's deaf and she's holding this, back in those days you'd have essentially
the monophone thing.
Yeah, it's essentially just a speaker and it's playing it right into your ear, but if that's the case, how is she walking around?
Who's she talking to?
They weren't mobile,
right?
Yeah, they aren't.
Yeah, they weren't.
Wireless devices don't exist in 1920.
Exactly.
So,
and also,
definitely
who is she
an
talking
interesting
to?
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. The one thing about this clip that does give me pause. The one thing about this clip that gives me pause is this guy walking past her doesn't seem to, like, if she's talking on a cell phone, why does this guy, like, why isn't he like, what the fuck is that thing? He doesn't seem fazed
but
by it all.
Yeah, but he's walking in front of her. Does he ever actually see it though?
He's walking faster, so I'm assuming, again,
at one
he just
point
walked right past her. But,
the only explanation I got for that,
he's worried about the stock market collapsing. People jumping out of buildings for the depression.
My only thing is it's the 20s, so he's not paying attention to her.
Yeah. What the hell is he carrying?
I mean, it looks like he's trying to put a pack of cigarettes away.
That could be.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, definitely an interesting one. It literally looks like she's talking on the phone. You see as she turns,
the way she's holding
her mouth is moving, the way she's holding it.
Yeah, the way she's holding it, it's not like that ear horn that they used to use for like a hearing aid back then.
It looks like how you would hold a cell phone.
Yeah, exactly how you would hold a cell phone.
Yeah.
Exactly how you would hold a cell phone.
Yep, that's a crazy one. I don't have an explanation for it.
No, me neither.
I mean,
there's another one.
You can't definitively say that it is a cell phone, but I don't know what else it is. What else would you be walking around with, holding up to your ear and talking into in 1920?
I mean, that goes to, and again, throwing this all far out into left field, that hollow earth theory.
You went way out there.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'll follow you on this rabbit trail, but how?
You've got the theory that there's the 7 continents that we know about, and there's not a whole lot that we know about past Antarctica. Mm-hmm. And that they say that Antarctica is like this wall that separates us from either a hollow earth or other continents that are beyond our reach at the moment. And that they're so technologically advanced that that separates us from them. So the explanations I've seen for those is that it is someone from those other continents that we haven't reached, or that hollow earth that we haven't been able to get to, that has the technology that came up here and unfortunately got caught.
Right. The theory goes that at the North Pole and the South Pole, there's a great big hole that essentially opens up into the center of the Earth, which is essentially just it's not molten and magma like they tell you. It's a giant opening with a whole nother world inside.
Absolutely.
And they've got they have the technology for like flying cars and all that stuff.
Right.
I wonder if that's where extraterrestrials come from. Like if that's what they really are.
You get into Robert Byrd's story. That's exactly what he says. It was Admiral Robert Byrd that went in there. Well, he took an expedition, a whole naval fleet down to Antarctica, and were attacked by flying saucers.
All right, folks, Antarctica. If you want to hear us do an episode on Robert Byrd, is that his name you said?
Admiral Robert Byrd, yep.
Robert Byrd. We're going to have to do an episode on that for sure. That's super interesting. Yeah. Josh, we'll have to have you back on to do that one with us because you're the one that sparked the Hollow Earth conversation. Now, let me ask you guys a question.
For sure.
If you could, the magical Wonkavator pulls up to your house and says you can time travel to any. Yeah, I was waiting for one of you guys to catch that. But it says you can go any which way, back in time, forward, doesn't matter. Where are you going? One place. Give it some thought. Where are you going? What are you seeing?
Ancient Egypt. I want to see these fucking pyramids getting built, man.
That's a good one. That's
I want to see them. Again, going far out, the theory that they're just big superconductors for power.
Sure. Yeah, I want to know what these things are for, because they sure as shit ain't tombs, man.
No.
Well, no, they've never found a mummy in there.
Nope.
No
hieroglyphs inside. Nothing. I mean, at least the three main pyramids that we think of anyway.
Isn't it funny though that we all, and this, I mean, I'm not going to break into the whole Mandela effect. We already did an episode on that, folks. And if you didn't hear that, tune in. But listen, I wonder if that. I lost my train of thought. But I wonder why a lot of us think that way. Why a lot of us think that that pyramids were tombs.
Well, that's what they say today. They still say that they were tombs.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Archaeologists today still
we were taught when we were young. Even though they've never found a dead body in there.
They say that,
right.
They say the Sphinx didn't actually look the way it looks now. They say they recarved the Sphinx to look like it does.
Yeah, and you look at...
if you look at the dimensions of the rest of the Sphinx, the head should be much larger than what it is. So it looks like they took whatever face or head they had there and carved it in to look like the pharaoh.
Right. Yeah,
Wow.
I'm sure we'll do an episode on this one day too, but you look into Robert Schoch's work, and he was looking at the tomb of the Sphinx, and or the temple of the Sphinx, I should say, the enclosure that it's in that it's essentially that the erosion that's happening there, everybody says that it's wind erosion, but he's like, nope, this is definitely water erosion. He takes it to other geologists without showing them that it's the Sphinx. They say, yeah, that's definitely water erosion. If it's water erosion, then the Sphinx is way older than they think it is, because there hasn't been that kind of rain in that part of Egypt in thousands and thousands of years. Tens of thousands of years. Whereas most archaeologists will tell you that the Sphinx was built, 6,000 years ago? 8,000 years ago? We're talking more like it was something like 20,000 years ago that was that kind of rain.
So the amount of erosion that it happened, it could have been the face just broke off and then they carved it into the pharaoh because they were carving everything into the pharaoh.
Yeah, the original I forget who it is that they credit with building the Sphinx, but you go back to what was written, or the translation of the hieroglyphics or whatever. It doesn't say that he built it; it says that he repaired it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's repairing it, it's old and decrepit and needs to be repaired. You're not repairing it right after you built the damn thing.
Sure. What about you, Josh? Where are you going?
I don't know. I don't know if I'd go as far back as ancient Egypt, but I'd probably go back to the 17 or 1800s.
There you go. To see what?
What? Yeah, I was like, what do you want to witness?
Just the building of this country.
Okay.
Just how it just how it got to this pot that it's in now. How did it all start?
So, like,
and you're going to spend a lot of time in that Wonkavator.
Hell yeah. So, I mean, what do you guys think about time travel in general? Is it even possible? How does this work?
I want to believe it, just like Bigfoot, just like the UFOs. I want to believe it's true. There's so much compelling, convincing evidence that people have done it in the past. I'm not going to get into the story, but if you guys want to really want a real head scratcher, look up the man from Torrid. It's a real head scratcher. This dude showed up.
I've read that story. It's nuts.
It is. This guy shows up.
This country named Torrid. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't he have
money?
Tell
the story. He did.
He had money and everything.
Tell the story, Josh.
And they wouldn't let him through customs. He had to stay at the airport for I don't know how long, and then he just vanished.
Well, so he vanished while he was they put him up in a hotel because, they couldn't identify where he was, where he was from.
Because he had a passport from a country that doesn't exist, right?
That doesn't exist. Yep. And he was pointing on a map, this is where I'm from. And they were like, no, this is I think they said the Angola Islands or something like that. I don't remember that part. But, and he's like, no, this is called, Torrid or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he was getting mad, this is where I'm from. If somebody was like, you're not from America, America doesn't exist. It does. You know what I mean?
But
and so they
that
put him
one
up in
just goes back to the Hollow Earth.
Yeah. Maybe. But so they put him up in a hotel. They have no, me neither. That's why I like having Josh here. But they put him up in a hotel. They have 2 guards outside of his. They put him up in a hotel, not on the ground floor of a motel. They put him up in a hotel, and they put 2 policemen, 2 guards outside of his room because they don't know what this guy's up to. They don't know what this guy's capable of. In the morning, cops are still there. They check the room. He's vanished.
He's gone.
He's gone. And if you're up on high on those hotel windows don't open.
Mm-hmm. You remember what year this was?
Let me see if I can. I don't, but let me see if I can look it up.
Oh, if I want, late 80s, early 90s, I want to say.
Yeah, I think you're right with the late 80s. Been a long time since I read that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a crazy one, though.
1950s.
Oh, the 50s, really?
50s, okay.
Yeah, he showed up at a Japanese airport in the 1950s.
Okay. No, but that as I was getting into the Hollow Earth thing, as I've been diving into that more recently, that's been coming up a lot as an example of the Hollow Earth, or there's another one, I forget the name of it now, but there's just extra continents. There's not just the 7 that we know of. There's 3 or 4 more that we just don't know about. So it just kind of goes back to the, if they've got the UFOs they say they do, what's to say they don't have a teleportation?
No, that's fair. In my opinion, that's always been where the dinosaurs were hanging out.
That is a theory as well, yeah.
Because I don't know about you guys, but
there's that one cave in China, I think it's in China, where it's so deep that it's got its own ecosystem.
Oh, it's actually in Vietnam. I know what you're talking about. It's in Vietnam. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
it's got
6 miles
rainy
deep.
Season. Yeah.
Yep.
It's got
6
all the
miles
trees
deep.
going. Yep.
I'm gonna pull up a picture of or a drawing of Hollow Earth here. Let's see what we're looking at. You guys see that?
It's loading. Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so essentially we live out here on the outside, right? Like here's Australia, India, China,
Yep.
North America's up here. And here at the North Pole and the South Pole, there's these openings in which, gravity almost inverted. So you would be walking on the surface over here about 1,500 miles deep worth of the crust, right? So that the
Right.
Earth is this, think of it like an inflatable ball. And you come inside and now you're walking on the surface on the inside with some kind of, sun type thing sitting in the center of the Earth, like a mini sun almost. And yeah, inside the sphere, there's all of these other continents, all of their, land masses where there's whole other civilizations. That's,
That's
the theory
fascinating.
anyway. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So what do you guys think? What do you guys think wiped out the dinosaurs, if they were wiped out? I personally don't subscribe to the idea that they were wiped out, nor do I subscribe to the idea that like one heat-seeking, like dinosaur-seeking comet came down and just like pinballed its way through the dinosaur population and left everything else alone. I don't buy that for a second.
No, I buy the fact that there's
I
been.
don't buy that either.
I think there's been dozens, if not hundreds, of extinction events throughout the history of the Earth.
Oh, no, that's very, very true. Very true. But the theory that we were always taught was the asteroids came or the comets came and killed all the dinosaurs, which I just never subscribed to. Like, what were all the other animals just hiding that day? Like they were playing hide and seek and they left all the dinosaurs outside. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I blame overhunting. I
agree that man pushed a lot of it to extinction.
Developed.
So, like, we killed all the velociraptors? That's where you're going with this?
Yeah.
We again, it's
not
like
all of them, but
else.
yeah.
We gentrified their neighborhoods.
So
humans,
or at least humanoids, were around. Because when do they say the dinosaurs died off? 65 million years ago? And
that's what they say, but there's people that say dinosaurs exist today.
That's what they say, right?
Yeah.
They say that Homo sapiens have only been around for, 200,000 years?
Yeah, that's what they say.
If you go the biblical route of it, you go
more
to
like 6,000, right?
Noah and the flood. Yeah, like you go to Noah and the flood, and it says in the Bible that Noah had dinosaurs on the ark.
Sure.
I don't remember that part.
But it says something about, again, it's loose interpretations, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. You had great lizards coming onto the ark. Whether that meant kimono dragons or fucking velociraptors, who knows?
Right. No, that's very fair. Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of reports of there's just a lot of reports of there's such a delay in this.
Go. Talk.
All right. No, I was just gonna say there's a large theory that a lot of these dinosaurs still exist in the Congo and in these very dense areas of the rainforest and the jungles where humans live but not really. You know what I mean? They're there but they're not really there.
Right.
They live in the area but they stay away from where they can, and a lot of them, they say they live in these areas that humans really, it takes days to walk through. There's, you mud up to, what I mean? Like it's not, you just drive down this road and wave to,
the Brontosaurus.
Yeah, right. But there is reports of a Brontosaurus to this day in the Congo. So do with that what you will.
Right. Anyway, I'm far more inclined to believe that, number one, human beings as we know them have been around for far longer than not only 6,000 years, but far longer than 200,000 years. Or maybe not Homo sapien as we know him today, but at least some version of our ancestors.
Some form of bipedal. Yeah.
That we've been around for far longer than they give us credit for. I think that we've had our own civilizations, advanced civilizations, come and go multiple times before. That we've been a part of these extinction events. Maybe not as far back as 65 million years ago, but certainly, several ice ages worth,
Right.
yeah, things like that.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's a really interesting point.
I mean, you go to the advanced civilizations. You think of you to go talking about the pyramids. What country has the most pyramids?
Yeah.
South America, somewhere in South America, I believe, right?
The Sudan.
Is it Sudan, really?
Sudan. Yeah. Guatemala is a close second, I think.
Guatemala's got a ton. Mexico's got a shit ton.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
That is really
But
interesting.
you've got all these cultures spread out all across the world that decided this particular structure was what they needed to build for whatever reason. Was it, power conducting? Was it, most of them were topped with gold. Was it just for light refraction? Was it for, what was it for?
Right. Yeah, in a lot of the
You know,
stories of them building these pyramids, you go to the local culture that, the descendants of the people who, supposedly built these things. In their stories, they say, yeah, we didn't build these things. We found these things in many of these locations. And you start looking at things like a lot of the stuff in Peru, a lot of stuff in a lot of the Inca stuff, a lot of the Aztec stuff. That's not so much the Aztec; they were a lot more recent. But the further back you go in the construction, the more advanced the construction is. And so,
The more dumbfounded we are to figure out how they built it.
yeah, just some of the technique they do these things with stuff that we don't know how to do today. Some of these structures, you have structures that looks like they literally took a rock made out of clay and molded it into the fit this spot, and it's but this is solid granite, and it's 50 tons.
There's that one statue where it's a solid granite statue, and the guy carved an intricate webbing of netting into this granite.
You go back as far as Gobekli Tepe, which is, as of right now, the oldest structures that we've ever found, and that itself pushed back civilization, the dawn of civilization, as they put it, by several thousand years. That archaeologists say, yep, you can't deny that one. And the stuff that, like, they have carvings, relief carvings in these 20-ton statues. Like, you took a bigger stone and carved it down so that you could have that lizard sticking out the side of it, and then you put it up, and then you buried it and built another one, and you did this over and over and over again. And the ones on top are 12,000 years old, which is 12,000 years ago. That's when the Ice Age ended. So these things, anything older than that is built during the Ice Age.
I mean, if you think even just more modern times, look at London, look at England, look at all those older countries over in Europe, and how all their cities, if you just can keep going down, and you just hit level upon level upon level of older cultures and civilizations.
Yeah, definitely.
Like that, I forget what country it was, but like you can actually go into these homes, and there's actually 3 or 4 levels underground from these homes.
Yeah. England's definitely got interesting,
up and up.
A lot of interesting history in England.
That's crazy.
I'm doing a lot more reading lately. We're finding we used to think that North America was just there weren't people here until they came across the Bering Sea during the last ice age, and prior to that there was nothing. But we're finding all kinds of stuff in North America that really archaeologists don't want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
There was one just recently, I forget, because it was just a blip in my scrolling, where they found this sword that predates everything that they've found so far by like 15,000 years.
I think it was somewhere in Texas they found a hammer embedded in sandstone, which takes hundreds of thousands of years to form, and it's still got the wooden handle, except the handle isn't wood anymore, it's coal, which takes like 1,000,000 years for wood to turn to coal.
Yeah.
Wow.
So who made this fucking hammer for it to be in sandstone?
Well, that's
I didn't hear about any of that.
They were talking about like some of these mesas that used to be giant trees. That they think these mesas were just giant trees, and that we had a race of giants just coming around chopping down these trees, and that's how we got our mesas.
And I mean, we've all heard the stories of giants in North America. Mm-hmm. The Smithsonian taking them away and never to be heard from again.
Yeah.
Yep. That itself deserves its own episode. Half the shit we just spilled out in the last 20 minutes requires its own episode. We're going down rabbit hole after rabbit hole.
We are. I want to thank every one of us. Go ahead.
That being said, we need to wrap this up, and we can pick this up in the bonus.
Yeah, we're going to have Josh. Make sure you stick around. Make sure you stick around. We're going to be doing we do a little rap show after this. And if anyone here has not subscribed to our Patreon, this is one of the stories we'll be telling. Josh, remember how when we were talking about, not knocking things off of trees and being men? Josh is going to tell that story in the after episode. Okay. As well as many others. All right. We love you guys. Josh, do you have any messages for the listeners?
Everybody stay safe. Love everybody. Be good.
I like it.
There you go. Everybody smash that like button. Subscribe. Leave us a comment, review. The comments and reviews are flowing in lately. I love it. Keep it up.
Oh,
Tell us what we're getting right. Tell us what we're getting wrong. Keep calling Bruce out on his bullshit, because that's always fun. I love that.
What's up, Leslie? I hope I see Bigfoot too.
Oh, man, what else? All right, where can you find us? Hit us on YouTube, hit us on Spotify, hit us on Rumble. You can watch the show in any one of those three. You just want to listen to the show. Anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find us there. iHeartRadio, Spotify, CastBox, you name it, iTunes. We're there, folks. Come check us out. Share it. Tell your friends. And check out our socials,
all right,
too.
Guys. Yeah. All right, guys. Until next time. That's right. Love each other. All right.
Peace out, y'all.
Have a good one, guys.